Good morning. Rachel here from Nutrition in Bloom, and today we are going to be talking about snacks. If you are new here, just getting my setup all set. I am a pediatric dietitian and feeding expert, and I help parents raise happy, confident eaters while taking away really any kind of bribing or forcing or negotiation, and really helping kids to develop positive relationships with food and help mealtimes become less stressful. I work with families of all different kinds, and one of the areas that I really focus on is families of extremely selective or extremely picky eaters. So if you are out there and you are struggling with your child eating, please know that I am here for support. I will link to how you can get in touch with me, and we can talk about what that might look like, or if you have any questions, I am always here. Okay, this is my third week in a row talking about snacks, and I'm excited for this one because I think it's going to be really good, and I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of information that I share with my clients, and also how I work on things with my own family. So I'm going to do a bit of a recap before I dive into our topic for today. Okay, so snacks. In the first video that I shared with you about snacks, I really talked about reframing this idea of snacks and really just thinking of snacks either as a mini meal or one more opportunity for your child to eat. I find that we have kind of taken that idea of snack and like pigeonholed it into something that it should be, or something that it is, or what we view it as, whether that's something in a package or whatever else that might mean. And not that there's anything wrong with that food in a package. What I want you to do is to really just think of a snack as an opportunity to eat. Kids, and I mean adults as well, really need to eat every 2 to 4 hours, depending on your metabolism and your body size and composition and everything else. And sometimes that's a little more frequently, sometimes it's a little bit longer. So I love to think of a snack as just an opportunity to eat. Now, why is this helpful? Because we can offer whatever food we want as a snack. It doesn't necessarily need to be something specific. If you have questions on that, I encourage you to check out my first video on snack time, because I talk a little bit more about how to kind of make snacks be a little bit neutral. And also, I'm going to do one more week of snacks next week, where I'm going to be talking about how we can get out of this snack food rut, so to speak. So stay tuned for that as well. But this week, I want to talk about something very specific, which is afternoon and evening snack times. Because I find, just kind of checking in, making sure, everything's working good. I find that this can be a very challenging time for a lot of families, this like afternoon or evening or dinner. So I want to share with you some of my favorite tips and how to maybe even reframe some of this snack time, some of what's happening maybe in the afternoon for your child, to make it a little bit easier, more pleasant, and as I like to say, peaceful, having more peaceful mealtimes. Okay, so we talked a little bit about snacks, why to think about them. I talked about timing and kind of how, eating every couple of hours is completely normal and natural, and our bodies need fuel. Now, sometimes I find that parents fall into this trap of a snack, wanting the snack to be smaller, wanting to hold off, it's dinner time in 2 hours, so they can't have a really big snack because dinner needs to be big. Why? Why have we created this idea that dinner needs to be the biggest meal or the heartiest meal, or we all got to sit together, and snack time needs to be something small? Now, the reason to kind of look at this and shifting this, why this might help, is because, in the afternoons, I have found with my kids and with other families that I've worked with, sometimes in the late afternoon, maybe an hour or 2 hours before dinner, a child is really hungry. For a school-age child, they may not have had a great lunch, right? Because they were playing and whatever else. They don't, maybe they have a really low variety, but they come home and they're starving. Or let's say your child takes a really long afternoon nap and then they wake up and they're starving. Why does that need to be small? And why do we feel like dinner time needs to be the bigger meal? So, what I encourage families to do is that afternoon snack, why not make that into a bigger meal? Maybe similar to some of the foods you would offer at dinner time. Maybe some of the more nutritious foods that your child enjoys, or some of the more filling foods that they enjoy. Because number one, we want to give them the fuel that they need, that makes sense for their body, because as I always say, like our kids can sense hunger and fullness, and we want to give them that opportunity. And then a lot of times this can actually help at dinner time. Yes, they might not eat as much at dinner, right? They might, eat like what they would at a snack time. It just might not be very big. But why? I'd be curious, like, why does that matter if they're still meeting their needs? A lot of families will come to me being very worried and concerned their child's not meeting their needs, but I always remind we always look at this like specifically for your child, but I also remind families that it's not about one meal. It's not about two meals. It's about what they're eating throughout the day. It's about what they're eating over a week or 2 weeks or over a month. That is where nutrition comes into play. So if they eat a bigger snack and then let's say dinner time is smaller, maybe dinner time can be a good time to offer them some foods. And if they don't eat those foods, maybe they're just exploring those foods. Maybe they're interacting, but you're at least showing them. You're giving them that very gentle exposure to those new foods, and that's what's going to help them in the long term to eat new foods. So that can be very helpful for families struggling at dinner time, or if their child's not eating a lot at dinner time, know that it is totally normal. So that's my first piece of this. Just check it. Okay. Part number 2 is the bedtime snack. And I probably could have broken this into 2 separate videos, but I'm just going to do it as one, and I can always cut and paste into 2 videos later. Now, I want to talk about the bedtime snack, why you might want to do it, why you might not want to do it, what it looks like, what it might be. Okay. A bedtime snack, what I typically recommend is that it should be offered pretty much regularly. Not if your child doesn't eat a lot of dinner, and there's some caveats to this as well, but giving your child one more opportunity to eat after dinner time can be very helpful for children that might have a hard time sitting at the dinner table, or might, be really excited, or maybe their body's not really regulated. Just giving them one more opportunity to eat. Now, a lot of times this opportunity is not going to be 2 hours after dinner, right? Because a lot of times maybe 2 hours after dinner is bedtime. But it can be nice to have this opportunity, especially if you have more of an early dinner time with your family, and you just want to give them a chance to eat something before they go to bed. Now, I've seen this work well. I've seen it not work so well. So what I recommend is that if you are going to be offering a bedtime snack, go back to that division of responsibility. You decide what's on the menu, your child decides if they're going to eat it or not. For my family now, and I've been talking about this a little bit lately, there are definitely some nuances to the division of responsibility that I find aren't necessarily totally in alignment with how I practice. So we have been doing, and my kids for reference are almost 5 and 7. So for reference, we've been doing kids' choice snacks sometimes. That might be an afternoon snack, and that might be an evening snack. This goes a little more into kind of talking about sweets and treats and this idea, that, and I'll definitely do another video on that maybe after my snack video next week. But, like that bedtime snack, it doesn't necessarily always need to be ice cream or cookies or something else. Because what you don't want to do is fall into the trap of your child not eating dinner because they know they're going to get something later on. However, this idea that a child won't eat dinner because they know they're going to get something, I don't see it very often. Yeah, kids are smart and they kind of pick up on things, but I think sometimes we think this is happening more than it actually is. So give your child the benefit of the doubt here. So what might a bedtime snack be? You could offer leftover dinner. You could offer a piece of fruit. You could offer, whatever you want it to be. And it can be ice cream and cookies and whatever else you want it to be. At our house, we have a fire table in our backyard, and my kids are obsessed with making s'mores. So maybe every other week or so, we have a s'mores night where we'll go outside and make s'mores. And that's our bedtime snack. And maybe I would pair that with, I don't know, like a glass of milk or some yogurt or some fruit so that they have ample opportunity to fill their bellies before they go to bed. Now, this idea, if you're not doing this and things are working well for you, great. Why rock the boat, right? But I find that this bedtime snack can be a really nice way to offer something else and then not feel so concerned at dinner. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I talk a lot about mindset and kind of how we come to the table, right? And it has a lot to do, our mindset can create maybe some feeding, make feeding more difficult, can make feeding easier. So sometimes offering a snack, either that bigger afternoon snack or a bedtime snack, can honestly help our mindset at the dinner table, because during dinner we feel more relaxed because we're like, okay, my child had a big afternoon snack, I'm going to offer them something else later, so I'm not going to feel too concerned if they eat too much. And then what happens is, because your stress level decreases, your child's stress level decreases, and it can actually make for an easier dinner time. I use dinner a lot because I would say maybe 80-90% of maybe more of the families that I work with tell me that dinner time is the most challenging time of the day. So, okay, that's it. If you have questions, whether you're watching now, whether you're watching this later, please let me know. I would love to help you kind of think through it and work through it. In my Facebook group, I posted earlier this week on asking people if they do have a bedtime snack. Some people said yes, it works for them. Some people said no. Every family is so different. So I want you to know that my advice is never a one-size-fits-all approach. And that's why I work together with families, whether that's one-on-one, whether that's in my group program with a little one-on-one support, to make feeding easier. Because feeding our kids is probably always going to be a little bit stressful no matter what, right? We have to prepare, or at least have available, multiple food items a day. But what I can help you with is make that less stressful so that you come to the table more clear-headed, you know your child's meeting their needs, you know what needs to get done. And when you feel that way, it helps your child and the rest of the family. So thank you for watching. Again, Rachel here from Nutrition in Bloom. If you have questions, if you want to set up a free discovery call, I am always here to chat. And I look forward to connecting with you. And tell me if you try the bedtime snack, how it works. If it doesn't work, that's okay too. We are here to learn and grow together. Thanks for watching. Bye.